Hey, what's up guys? So we're here to go over the best build for Crusader using the new set Aegis of Valor, which is new to Season 19 in Diablo 3. And all this data is from the PTR, so keep that in mind. But anyways, first off, what it is a new build for Fist of the Heavens. With a 6-piece bonus, we're going to be dealing up to 10,000% more damage with Fist of the Heavens. And then on top of that, we happen to have a buff with Dark Light, which makes it so Fist of the Heavens now casts twice and deals it up to 250% more damage. Now, previously, this didn't always have the ability to cast it twice. And basically, we're going to be spamming Fist of the Heavens with the Fissure of Lightning. We're going to be able to spam it and also get double Fist of the Heavens. And on top of that, we're going to be able to create a fissure of energy that travels in between other Fists of the Heavens. So that's essentially what this build comes down to. So first off, we will be showcasing off two builds in the gameplay. We're going to be showing a fast build as well as a Greater Rift build. But anyways, just as a heads up, currently on the PTR right now, the best build for Crusader period is still the Blessed Shield build, which is an older build, but it's still currently the dominant one. So we could maybe see a buff with this set. And the point of this video is going to be the best new build with Crusader utilizing the new set, because I think most people are interested in, of course, the new set. And that's why I wanted to make the video and give you guys the best builds for the new set, because the previous one, well, that's old content technically anyways. But what we're utilizing is the 6-piece bonus because we have Roaring and Grandeur, as well as utilizing the Captain Crimson set. So we're going to get extra damage and damage mitigation, but we'll go over all the stats and essentially what you're going to be wanting to run and the runes and all that stuff in a second, because I want to show you guys gameplay and kind of explain things as we go along over here, and then I'll go in depth and explain what you want, what the gems are and all that stuff. So we'll show off two different gameplays in the video. We will showcase off the fast build, and then we'll show off the Greater Rift build as well. So pretty much what you're looking for is Akarat's Awakening. Being able to block gives us extra cooldown reduction at a percent chance, but because you're going to be blocking most of the hits in this game, you're going to be able to activate it the entire time. I'm going to go ahead and just activate that since we happen to have Nemesis, because this is the speed build. Now the Greater Rift build will be utilizing Strong Arms instead. So let's go ahead and just run past them. And pretty much make sure you just get 50 stacks of this. It's really easy. You'll be able to keep it up the entire time. And just spam on every single one of your abilities except for the Horse as well as Falling Sword. Both of those are your mobility options, as well as getting out of situations where maybe you're kind of locked down, maybe you're taking a lot of damage. And then you happen to have Laws of Valor. This is going to give you 50% reduced cost on your skills. I guess we can go ahead and pick up the orbs. You can kind of use the Horse for that as well. But Falling Sword is to go across gaps because this is a speed build. So we'll make great use of that as well. Provoke is used to gain more wrath, and the Horse is to ignore unit collision and, of course, move faster, sometimes going up, and opening up doors can be a little bit easier. Some doors, because the Horse does ignore unit collision, you are able to just go through it. So it makes things a little bit faster in that aspect. But I feel like you guys got a pretty good idea of what the gameplay looks like, but now let's go ahead and explain things, and then I will play the Greater Rift meta pushing build. So as far as the builds differ, the only difference as far as equipment goes from the fast build to the Greater Rift pushing build is actually going to be Strong Arms. Strong Arms is going to give you more damage when enemies are hit by a knockback, which technically Condemned Vacuum will actually proc, but that's the only difference in terms of equipment here. But as far as on the build goes, there are two different skills, and I'll get into that in a moment here. So first off, as far as what we're looking at, and these will be pretty much the same across every build of Crusader. So of course we want 5 pieces of the Aegis of Valor set, and what we're looking for on the helm is mostly going to be the strength, crit hit chance, as well as that increased damage of Fist of the Heavens, which is something I have not rolled, but again, I'll explain what you guys will want. Don't copy my stats exactly, but that's what we're looking at. And then in the helm, we want to reduce the cooldown with a diamond. For shoulders, we're looking at strength, vitality, and then we want cooldown reduction as well as resource cost reduction, because that will actually give us better damage mitigation through the Captain Crimson set. For the gloves, strength, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, reduction of cooldown, and then on any one of the stats minus crit hit chance, you can also technically have reduced cost of our skills, which again is going to be extra damage mitigation. As certain integers, once you reach thresholds with Paragon, strength becomes less valuable and other stats become much more viable. And then as far as one of our rings, we're going to be running the Compass Rose, and that will give us the 2-piece bonus of the Endless Walk, which will actually give us damage mitigation as well as extra damage. And what you're looking for on the ring is going to be usually going to be crit hit chance, cooldown reduction, strength, and then if you can get crit hit damage, but that's really hoping for a lot to roll in the ring. For our weapon, we're going to be running Dark Light, and we're going to be wanting to use specifically Dark Light versus what we have in the cube. I know sometimes people will swap things in and out, but the reason why you actually prefer to have the one-handed here is because Fervor is actually going to give you extra cooldown reduction and attack speed, and if you were to swap them and run Heavenly Strength, you're just technically getting more damage, where this gives you technically more damage with the attack speed, but it also gives you that cooldown reduction. And then what you're really looking for is usually just going to be cooldown reduction, damage, and then strength. And then as high as you can get on the secondary. And then for the boots, you want strength, vitality, then armor or all resistance, and then we happen to have the Fist of the Heavens damage on it. For pants, strength, vitality, and then all resist, although this one happens to have armor. And then we want on our belt, strength, vitality, life percent, and then armor and or all resistances. And then for our chest piece, you get strength, vitality, or life percent, and then also elite damage reduction is also another viable option. And then for our necklace, we're going to be running the Traveler's Pledge. And this is going to be usually crit hit damage, crit hit chance, and then cooldown reduction or lightning damage instead of strength, but it doesn't really matter in the very beginning if you happen to have strength. Because again, once you reach certain thresholds with Paragon, strength becomes less valuable. And then for the speed build, we do want Nemesis, but for the other build, we will be running Strong Arms, and that's going to be lightning damage percent, strength, vitality, then crit hit chance, and that's going to be across both Nemesis as well as Strong Arms. And then for our other ring, we're going to be running Justice Lantern. We want to have strength, cooldown reduction. Chance block doesn't have to be in here, but that's the reason why most people will be running it. But we're really just looking for the secondary stat, which makes it so you gain damage reduction equal to your block chance. So if you have a good Rogue, I guess you can kind of swap that, but you won't get the block chance. So that depends on your thresholds of block. Remember, 75 is the cap. And then for our shield over here, Akarat's Awakening, we want the secondary stat, you want to get that as high as possible, minus 24%, but you're looking just for that crit hit chance as well as cooldown reduction. The block chance, it can matter depending on, again, your thresholds of what your block is at. Ideally, you do want it to be as high as possible because then you can swap out one of the passives. And then for our gems, it doesn't have to be powerful, but in the very beginning, most people will opt to be playing powerful. There are a lot of people that are on the leaderboards technically using Zeiss as well as using Bane of the Trap, and I thought that was a pretty interesting change. Everyone's running the Bane of the Stricken just because this will proc damage very, very fast, and you're going to be getting that bonus damage against the Rift Guardian, especially if you're doing Greater Rift pushings. This just helps out a lot. If you're not doing Greater Rift pushings, you can definitely run another gem instead of this, but overall, Bane of the Trap is pretty much on every single build in the game. But I wanted to mention something. Zeistone can be swapped out for any one of the gems, really. I've seen multiple builds actually utilize this and Bane of the Trap, and if you're thinking, why would you want both? One's for close, one's for far. The thing is that Zeistone does offer that 20% chance to stun the enemy for 1 second, which means if the enemy is stunned and you have them the lightning arced right in between, you're going to be able to deal massive amounts of damage, so that would be why you'd actually want the stun. And technically, when you utilize this, it's having itself being procced super far off screen, and you can get that extra damage in anyways. But usually it's going to be Bane of the Trap, Stricken, as well as Powerful, or Zeistone in between any one of those. But I have seen people also technically use Esoteric Alteration to get extra damage mitigation as well. And I'll get into theory crafting why this is here in a moment. But as far as what's in the cube, Blood Brother, this is going to give you extra chance to block attacks, but then also block attacks inflict 30% less damage on you, and then after blocking an attack, your next attack inflicts 30% additional damage, and we'll be capped at block pretty much the whole time. You'll see our block chance is at 96, but the maximum is 75. Even though you can technically make this even go to 100 in the stat sheet, it only will go up to 75%. But Next up, we have Cassette's Cord. This is going to give us extra Fist of the Heavens damage and make it so it costs less Wrath. Then we have Royal Ring of Grandeur for, of course, utilizing both of the 2 sets. And then for the potion, I would actually prefer Voluminous Potion of Kool-Aid, but I just happen to not have it. And then as far as the skills go for the fast build, we're looking at Accurate Champion, Prophet, so that's going to give you extra damage mitigation and damage. And then Falling Sword, Rapid Descent, just so we have extra cooldown on it. This is, again, just used to cross certain gaps, especially when you're doing speed T16s. It's very helpful. And then we have Laws of Valor, Unstoppable Force. This makes it so when it's active, you're going to be able to reduce the cost of all of the skills by 50% for 5 seconds. And we're going to be utilizing Long Arm of the Law. So that's essentially doubling the time, and that's how you keep up spamming the Fist of the Heavens. Then for Fist of the Heavens, we're running Fissure Lightning, which gives us that little arc. And then we're running Seed Charge, Endurance, just to make it last longer. And then we're also running Provoke Hit Me, which is going to allow us to get additional block chance, which we don't really need. It's just for that ability to make it so taunted enemies will focus their attention on you for 4 seconds, but then also taunt all nearby enemies and generate additional 5 Wrath for enemy taunted. So basically, this is our secondary way of generating Wrath. There's a few different builds that people are running, and I'll get into that in a second. But for the passives, we're running Fervor, Hold Your Ground, Long Arm of the Law, and Finery. Now for the Greater Rift pushing build, here's where it differs a little bit. So pretty much everything is the same, minus, again, we're running Strong Arm. And then on top of that, our build is a little bit different. So we're running Iron Skin Flash Lightning. This allows us to ignore unit collision, which technically the horse does as well, but it also gives us extra damage mitigation by 50%. And then our other change over here is going to be Condemn Vacuum. So this basically makes the enemies, it technically brings them towards you, but it still counts in the game as technically anything that I believe moves an enemy will count as a knockback. So essentially that's how you're utilizing Condemned Vacuum and why you are actually running. So it gives you extra damage over here with that. Now alternatively, if you happen to have enough block, like you basically have 75% block, which basically requires you to have everything at max values, instead of running Hold Your Ground or Finery, these are what other people are running in the game. They're running Indestructible. They're also running Vigilant over here. And if you really want to squeeze some extra damage in, you could, I guess, run Holy Claws. It just increases your damage by 10%. But those are the other options that you can swap in and out. Like I said before, if you are technically looking at the top leaderboard, they're all running this because, of course, that's a Blessed Shield build, but don't copy it because this is all about using Fist of the Heavens. Now, getting into theory crafting for highest Greater Rift potential and highest speed, technically speed, yeah, you can technically run the Warzichan's Arm Guards instead, and in the cube, you would need a lot of strength and you would need a lot more damage for this. But theoretically, yes, if you decide to cube this technically would be faster instead of this, but you'll have to have a huge amount of damage for that to work out. Alternatively, for Greater Rift pushing, you can run the Flavor of Time and, let's say, the Convention of Elements, because if you happen to get multiple pylons in the very beginning, if you're just interested in topping the leaderboards, the Flavor of Time is by far one of the best enemies that's in the game. It does require a little bit of RNG, but I did want to mention that it is there. And then we have the other theory crafting of utilizing Squirt's Necklace and the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard. The reason why is because no gem in the game is going to give you 100% like bonus damage. You can get up to a pretty decent amount on Bane of the Trap, but eventually you still will never reach, like, theoretically, yes, you can if you get it up, like, I don't know, as ranked like 300-400, because certain gems don't have a cap, but for the most part, you're not going to get a gem that gives you 100% bonus damage, and because taking shield damage doesn't actually matter with the Squirt's Necklace, you'll still have 100% bonus damage. It was just more for theory craft than anything, but if you don't happen to have the amount of damage, or if you just want to sit back, you can use Ice Stone as well as Esoteric in the very beginning of, let's say, Season 19. But that said, let's go ahead and hop right into just a brief little explanation of the other build here, which is very similar. It's a lot more tanky, and it's very easy to play. The other build with Falling Sword, you kind of have to time things, but if you like to maybe watch other things, maybe you're watching another Twitch streamer, you know, if you want to follow me on Twitch, by the way, it's twitch.tv/Slaydra. But basically, this is the easiest build. You basically can keep up all of your cooldowns the whole time, and you just spam on every single thing. If you are familiar with numlocking, well, this is an excellent build for numlocking because you basically just face roll everything. It is a lot slower, though, because you have literally no mobility. But it's very safe, and you can go point blank up to everything because the extra damage mitigation they get with Iron Skin is huge. But yeah, those are indeed both of the Crusader builds for Season 19. We have the speed build, we have the Greater Rift pushing build, and that's what's in the cube on both of them. So, like I said, that is the best build for the new build of Crusader Aegis of Valor. Once again, I just wanted to mention it because I know there might be someone out there that's like, yo, I don't think this is the best build for Crusader right now. Like I said, it might be subject to a buff, but the point of the video was to show off the new set and show off the best builds with this specific set, because that's the reason why people would probably want to be playing Crusader in Season 19, is to utilize, of course, the new content that we have. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, drop a like on it. And if you are new here and do want to keep up to date with more Diablo content as well as other gaming content, hit the subscribe button and turn on that bell, and you'll definitely see more. But I'm looking forward to Season 19, and so far, I actually might be building a LOD block proc Crusader, which is something I haven't really covered. It might not be the top of the builds, but I think it will be kind of fun. I do want to mess around with it and see what we can do with it with, of course, Season 19 Pandemonium. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. I'm signing out. Peace.